The workday is coming to an end.
It is 5 o'clock. I will see you all tomorrow.
But Gwynn and Chris are just getting started.
Sports talk it is.
Your hosts, Tony Gwynn Jr.
For your chance to win a pair of tickets. Wow, what is this, the Petco?
And Chris Ello.
Guy Rosario got a couple of at-bats last year. Brent Rooker got some at-bats.
Eggy
Rosario, I said E-Guy.
That needs to be a promo as well.
It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports.
Yes!
With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwynn and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
First pitch, Tatis swings, sends it in the air, very high to left, very deep. Laureano is back. You got to be kidding me. A long home run. First pitch, first at bat, 2-0.
And with that, the 2024 postseason ushered in last night at Petco Park. Good afternoon, everybody. I forgot how to talk. It's been a while.
I was going to say.
I think it's understandable. It's Chris Ello back from parts unknown. And Matt Scraby. We are hanging out at Petco Park. There's no place I'd rather be, Scraby, after I just toured the entire northeast part of this country and Canada for a couple of weeks. Finally, they let me come home.
I'm surprised.
And, I'll tell you one thing. I sure got off the plane last night to a very pleasant surprise. I walked right off the plane. Of course, we didn't have internet on the plane.
Oh my gosh! What airline were you flying?
Okay, we had internet. I didn't pay the freight.
Well, because you're also probably are you DVRing the game?
I was
at home?
DVRing the game, so I thought I'd watch it when I got home. But when I walked off the airplane last night in San Diego at Lindbergh Field, the first thing I saw as I glanced, unintentionally up at the television screen there at the airport was the Padres shaking hands. So I knew that was a really good sign.
Yeah, whenever you're shaking hands on the field after a game, it's good.
They were all shaking hands, and I figured Game 1 was in the box, and the Padres did indeed make tidy work of the Braves and take Game 1 of the National League Wild Card Series. And we are broadcasting live from Petco Park. We're at the Loft. Nobody's here yet except us. But they'll be opening the gates down here at Petco Park in about 90 minutes or so. And then, of course, later on this evening, it's Game 2 between the Padres and the Atlanta Braves, with the Padres hoping to advance to the National League Division Series. Chris Ello here, Matt Scraby. Tony Gwynn Jr. is running around somewhere here at Petco Park. We will hear from him at some point.
They changed the interview times on us today. So yesterday we had a good period of time where he was able to get a window, but today we have no window. So.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Tony's got so much to do to be ready for the broadcast tonight, he and Jesse, but hopefully we'll get Tony on. Scott Miller will join us. He's here, the great baseball writer.
Yes.
And saw Scott a little while ago. He's going to come on the show and talk about this with us in this hour. And throughout the program, I mean, it's just going to be kind of a prelude to a ball game.
We're a pre-game show.
Yeah, Sam
today.
Levitt has let us be his pregame show
yes.
today. So
we're the openers.
We're better than an opener. We're better than AJ Smith Shaver, who was basically an opener last night.
He was
for the Atlanta Braves.
Did you hear what Brian Snicker said about the whole thing? So yesterday on the show, we played his press conference to see what he said about the travel and everything because they got in late.
Yeah.
But he was like, how did he respond when you told him he was going to be starting? He was like, I don't even think he thought he was going to be here at all.
Yeah.
And then Brian Snicker was like, I don't even think he thought he was going to be on that plane. And that told me everything I need to know. Why are they starting this guy? I mean, I'm happy it happened, but it seemed like a terrible decision from the beginning.
I got to be honest with you. It made no sense. And, I think if you're the Atlanta Braves and you have, no confidence in any of the guys who helped get you there, I know Max Fried's going to pitch tonight. So they've got one of their guys going. They were, saddled by the loss of Chris Sale. And then, of course, they played a doubleheader on Monday.
Used all of their pitching.
So they used everything on Monday. They probably didn't have a lot of choices, but you'd think that they would have a better choice than somebody who was deemed good enough to pitch in only one game in Major League Baseball all year.
He was injured.
And, but that's what they went with, and the Padres jumped on it right away. Arise. Anybody like Arise?
I love
we have
him.
this discussion all the time.
This is why the Padres have him, for
he's
these
useless,
moments.
But he's useless, the analytics tell us. He's totally useless, except he got it started with a base hit. And then Fernando, my goodness, what a bomb that was. And, you talk about sucking the wind right out of another team.
Yeah.
I know the game's not over in the first inning. Atlanta still had 8 more at-bats, but you do something like that, man, that really – it sends the ballpark into a frenzy.
Yeah.
The other team is like, whoa, what are we into? We just flew cross-country for this. And
not only that, but Michael King came out and showed he's ready to go. Everybody knows that he's going to give his best. But I didn't even see the ball last night. I was here, and we had a good angle on it because it went to the Western Meadow Building, which is where we're at right now. But towards it, it went so high, Chris. I could not even find the ball, and it ended up going out. They asked him after the game, like, basically, did you know it was going out? He said he knew it was going out, but he had no idea second deck. That's how pumped up he was.
Yeah, well, he didn't know where it was going to go out.
Yeah.
And, I'm not Jesse Agler can speak for himself, but if you listen to his home run call, I think he probably lost the flight of that ball because it was so out of the view of where you normally look.
Oh, yeah.
You don't normally look way up there when a ball is hit. And what is it, a 39-degree launch angle?
I believe that's what it was.
So you're looking up, and you're like, where's this ball? You see the left fielder going back, so you know it's deep. And then you see a bunch of fans reacting in left field. The ball landed somewhere in that second deck, but it was understandable because it was such a monstrous blast by Fernando Tatis Jr. And at least, Scraby, for one night at least, we can quiet the people who say, A, the Padres are a better team without Fernando Tatis Jr., and B, those who say, why does he always swing at the first pitch?
That's why.
I hate when he swings at the first pitch. So
Chris is back, everybody. Chris is back.
You know what? We could quiet those folks down a little bit after what he did last night. And so it was a banner night all the way around. It really was. And you talked about Michael King. I got to be honest with you, Scraby. I mean, obviously I'm traveling, but in this world, you're pretty well connected, right, with the internet and everything I've got at my disposal. And when they announced Michael King starting game 1, I have to tell you, I was shocked.
Everybody was.
I just seemed like you got Joe Musgrove, who's like the proven ace of the Padres. You got Yu Darvish, who's the proven ace of the Padres. You've got Dylan Cease, who's the best stuff in the National League, bar none. And they go with Michael King. I thought that was the 4th option. Turns out Uncle Mike Shildt, our guy, knew exactly what he was doing because Michael King was filthy, if you don't mind me saying.
No, filthy is
night.
the word for it because he wasn't – they were swinging at pitches that were 2 strike zones over. That's how good he was last night.
You had to give
Travis D'Arnaud swung at a ball that was legitimately 2 strike zones to the other side.
I honestly thought it was going to roll into the Padre dugout. It was so far outside. Kyle Higashioka had to take one step and leap to his right to catch a couple of those curveballs that they were swinging at. 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. And, look, he did face – No walks, right. That's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. In a tip of the cap to my friend, your friend, our friend, Randy Jones, who I always would ask him, what's the most important thing in baseball? The most important pitch in baseball. And Randy Jones would always say, strike one. Michael King proved that last night. He threw a first pitch strike to 21 of the 26 hitters. That's dominating. He was out in front every single at-bat and in complete command of that performance. And every time he got in a little trouble, he just struck somebody out.
Yep.
The Braves were 0 for 4 against him with runners in scoring position. All 4 at-bats were strikeouts. And so it's just a great performance. I got to give Mike Shildt, all the credit, because he had to make a choice, a very difficult choice. 4 guys, all capable of starting game one. He picked the right guy.
And I think it comes down to, and as simple as it is, it was Michael King's turn in the rotation. And he's that good, you have to be able to consider him as the game one starter. And Braden and I were talking yesterday, because we initially were shocked, Tony and I, on Monday when we heard this. And then yesterday I bought into it. I felt like that was the best move. Then you have Dylan Cease. If anything happens that you need game 3, and if you don't need game 3, you have Dylan Cease for game 1 on Saturday up in L.A. So everything is lining up for the Padres. I want to talk about Robert Suarez, though, real quick, because when you were gone, there was a lot of discontent's not the word, but nerves around Robert Suarez. I was at the White Sox game where he gave up that home run.
Okay.
Last night, I gotta say, Chris, when that guy hit the ball,
Matt Olson leading
yes,
off,
which
the
he's a great hitter, so I thought this was going to be dangerous. And as it was going towards that left field wall, I felt like it was slow motion, like the movies of like, no.
What were you
and
worried
then
about?
Profar caught it, and then everything was fine, and then he proceeds to, get out of the inning, gets the save.
I don't know
all
what
that
you were
stuff.
worried about. Even if Olson,
you weren't here for the past 2 weeks.
I understand that Suarez has bobbled a little bit, but I also understand that Suarez has got the job done in some key save opportunities. I mean, look, the guy induced a triple play, for heaven's sakes, to wrap up the National League playoff berth. But no, I get it. I get why there's a little concern about Suarez. But here's why I don't think there's any reason to worry, especially last night.
He did it.
If Olson homers, it's 4-1. If he gets in any trouble, you got Tanner Scott. The Padres are so good right now that if Suarez struggles, they've got 2 other guys that can close the game for you. And I still have confidence personally in Suarez. So,
Me too. Let me dispel any rumors, because when you were gone, Sam Levitt painted me as an enemy of Robert Suarez and other players on this team.
You are an enemy of Suarez.
I am not an enemy of Suarez. I am all good. I think that Suarez is the closer, and I also think that if they need Tanner Scott, there's a bunch of lefties in the 9th, they're going to use Tanner Scott.
But But you're panicking every time Suarez comes into the game.
Because we've seen these home runs happen, and we've seen the snowball effect happen, where he gives up 1 hit, and then it becomes 2 hits, and then it's a 3-run home run, and then it's a tie game, and then the Padres have to do something in the bottom of the 9th.
It's the life of a closer. It honestly is the life of a closer, and Robert Suarez has lived that life as a closer, and he has, to me, he has walked the high wire beautifully, and I have no problems going to him in the 9th inning tonight.
Me neither.
The Padres have a lead. We will talk a lot about, obviously, what's coming up tonight, Game 2, a lot more on Game 1, a lot more on what Game 1 means. We'll update you on what's going on in the American League. And it is stunning what is happening in Houston right now, where your guy, Josh Hader, came in, gave up a bases-loaded 2-out double in the top of the 8th inning that has now given Detroit a 5-2 lead over the Astros. The Tigers, of all teams, are 3 outs away from eliminating powerhouse Houston.
I'm going to be the bigger person and just move on.
Going to move on.
Which is not really that easy for me, but I'm going to move on.
Do you want me to say that it was karma?
Yes.
You'd rather I say it was karma for Josh Hader?
I've been taking the hard line on a lot of things while you're gone. So
here's the thing. Josh Hader, who did not want to come into a game in the 8th inning when he was a Padre, did come into a game in the 8th inning today as an Astro, and he may have cost his team the season.
Can we go to break so I don't say anything I regret?
Karma is
Actually, ever since he came here and they played their series, I've been kind of over it, but this is nice to see.
This was kind of nice to see. I think all Padre fans have a big smile on their face, and they should, after a Game 1 victory last night. More from Petco Park. We're in the loft and the top of the Western Metal Supply building. When you get down to Petco Park, coming up and say hello. We'll be broadcasting right up until Sam Levitt's 4:30 pregame show. Gwynn and Chris, with Chris at long last back on 97.3 The Fan.
Mixed feelings.
Yeah. All right, this is the third year that baseball has had the best of three wild card series. There's been 8 previous series the last 2 years. The team that has won game 1 has won all 8 series. So hopefully that bodes well for the Padres.
I think it does.
Who are looking to wrap things up tonight in game 2 against the Atlanta Braves. Welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. Crisello, Matt Scraby, atop the Western Metal Supply Company building here at the Loft. And Tony Gwynn Jr., oh, have I missed him. He is in the booth getting ready. I didn't miss you at all.
I was going to say.
I didn't miss at all.
Liver.
Yeah, it was nothing. But Tony Gwynn Jr., man, to get a chance to finally talk to my partner after all this time. How are you, sir?
Welcome back, Christopher. I am well.
Thank you.
How was your trip?
Thank you. It was great, but way too long. And, I've had a discussion with my wife on the way back yesterday, actually. And I said, that's it. I can't go that long ever again. I miss my guys. I miss what's going on in San Diego. I think she kind of agreed, too. We were gone a long time. So from here on out, I think we'll try to keep it a little shorter in the future. But I'll tell you one thing, Tony, after traveling all over the place, there's nowhere I'd rather be than here for Padres playoff baseball. And, I did get back last night enough to watch some of the game, and the atmosphere at Petco Park was unbelievable from before the opening pitch till after the final out. And, I keep thinking about this, but our fans in San Diego, we've waited a long time, to get get all the way, and we're a long way from that. But we take a backseat to nobody when it comes to the excitement level here during playoffs.
I'm glad you made that distinction, too, because last night's environment, postseason, was a lot different than regular season. And you guys know, you guys have been here all year as well. We've been selling out, broke another record this year selling out this stadium. But in each of the two postseasons that I've been a part of here in this ballpark, it's a different energy than it is in the regular season. Part of the regular season, I think, is, it's a social event in some ways, right? And so Jesse and I were talking about it before the game. When, you hear a hitting coach get a standing ovation, that is a crowd that is dialed into what's going on. And listen, I don't know if it's the same folks, but certainly the energy in last night's game was way different than anything else that we've had here this season. Well,
and then Fernando Tatis sent it into the stratosphere.
Yeah, he did.
With that home run. I mean, this is a guy that is made for the big stage, Tony. You've talked about it all year. This is what he lives for. And, Scraby and I joked about it in the first segment that, he always swings at the first pitch and, all of that stuff. But this is what he does in the biggest moments. And, once he did that, I know the game's not over. You got 8 long innings to go, but it sure set the tone.
It did. I think that's a great way to describe it. It set a tone. And you can make the argument that Michael King kind of set the tone early just before that, but that 2-run homer is immediate breathing room. And, from there, King just got better as the game went along. And looks like the Astros have been eliminated from playoffs. The home team goes down to the Detroit Tigers.
Yes.
But nonetheless, yes, Toddy set the tone yesterday. And, we saw a lot of the same things we saw during the regular season. You saw some early runs. You saw a starting pitcher get better. And then you saw add-ons. And that's been the formula for the Padres all season when you kind of just break it down to the bare minimum.
Yeah, they didn't really need any add-ons last night because King was so electric. But, and as a matter of fact, they didn't get a lot of add-on. After the second inning, they got only one more base runner until Higashioka hit the home run. As a matter of fact, Tony, I looked in the box score this morning to see what was the Padres batting last night with runners in scoring position. It wasn't even listed. You know why? They did not have an at-bat with a runner in scoring position last night, the Padres. They only left one man on base the entire game. So, offensively, it wasn't the kind of performance where you get a lot of traffic. But the one thing that holds true is the Padres' ability to still put the ball in play, which they did throughout the game, and their ability to keep the other team from putting the ball in play, as Atlanta struck out, 16 times, 15, 16 times. So
I think it's important to remember we moved on from the regular season. So adding runs in abundance, that's just not something that typically happens in in postseason. And that goes for runners in scoring position opportunities. Those don't happen nearly as often. And so even if it's 1 or 2 runs, if you're adding them late in the ball game, those are usually nail in the coffin type deals. And for the Padres, yes, it may not have been what we've come accustomed to during regular season, but in terms of postseason baseball, I don't know that you can draw it up any better, right? Because you look at a game like that Milwaukee Mets game, that's a chaotic scene. You know, runners on base, lead changes every other inning for the first 5. Like, that's not a healthy place to be, because as you're putting those runs, you're also depleting the arms you got. And so this is really how you draw it up in terms of how you're going to win in the postseason. Padres pass test 1 at least in game 1.
Yeah, for sure, Tony. I know you got a lot to do and a lot of running around. Just your thoughts heading into tonight. I've seen a lot of people here since I got to Petco Park, from ushers to some security people to everybody here up in the Western Metal Supply Company setting up for tonight's party and game. And there's one common theme. Everybody wants tomorrow off work. In order for that to happen, of course, the Padres have to win tonight. What do you think?
I like their chances. I really do. I mean, you got Joe Musgrove on the mound, and you know, we've seen him pitch in these elimination games, whether it be for his own team or whether it be for the team that he's pitching against. We know he's built for these type of moments, and I would be surprised if there was anything but typical Joe Musgrove in this start here in today's action. He just, it was brought up during the press conference earlier to Kyle Gashioka. They showed Joe during the starting lineups. He didn't smile. He was very serious. As I think Jeff Sanders said, it looked like he was ready to fight. And so I imagine that is the same mentality he'll have here tonight as he toes the rubber.
Well, tough customer, though, on the other side. Max Fried, he's had some great games, although the Padres hit him fairly well. I know the game down in Atlanta, they got to him a little bit. So
and that was at a time where the Padres were atrocious against left-handed pitching.
That's right. So hopefully tonight they'll be able to, cobble together enough to make it work. Tony, we'll see you over in the press box. It's great being back here with you, and look forward to seeing you in a little while, buddy.
Good to talk to you, Chris. I'll see you guys here later.
Yes, sir. We are at Petco Park. You are with us on Gwynn and Chris. Scott Miller joins us next as we continue live ahead of Game 2 of the NL Wildcard Series on 97.3 The Fan. by Andy Ibanez in the top of the 8th inning against Josh Hader. You can celebrate that, Padre fans.
I heard a yeah in here somewhere.
Yeah, that was the difference as the Tigers beat the Astros 5-2 today. They take that series 2-0, and that now means that the winner of Game 1 has won all 9 of these playoff series over the last few years in Major League Baseball, a trend that the Padres will be hoping to continue tonight. The other game in Baltimore, they're in the top of the 4th inning. Kansas City, which took Game 1 1-0, leads Game 2 1-0. And the Royals have former Padre Seth Lugo pitching in this game, Scraby. He's been as good as anybody in baseball this year. I would not be shocked if the Orioles also are eliminated today. We'll see.
I got to tell you, as we're waiting for Scott Miller and we're trying to get him on the line, I got to say that Brandon Hyde, the manager of the Orioles, he's got to feel, I mean, if there is a guy in a hot seat, it's got to be him. A successful manager on the hot seat, because last year they didn't even win a game in the playoffs. This year they haven't even scored a run in the playoffs, let alone win a game in the playoffs. So if I'm Brandon Hyde, I'm doing something right now to motivate my team to get this win, because I might not have a job. Now, I know that I'm saying that facetiously. He's going to have a job.
He's been pretty good the last couple of years.
But you have to be able to win a game in the playoffs.
You need to be able to score a run. And so
That
far,
too.
that hasn't happened yet. Do you think Brandon Hyde's on a hotter seat than my guy Mike McDaniel?
Ooh, no, Mike McDaniel just got an extension. So Brandon Hyde, Mike McDaniel.
What were we thinking about with that extension? Anyway, we'll get to
that was before Tua had his 4th head injury.
True enough. We'll get into football a little bit later. We got baseball now, though.
This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fan, Buffalo Wild Wings is kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon, or get the fan-favorite hot barbecue before it's gone. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go.
All right, when I walked into the press box today at Petco Park, a sight for sore eyes.
Yes.
Good to see my old friend Scott Miller hanging out, getting ready for the ball game tonight. The great baseball writer joins us here at Petco Park. Scott, thanks so much for sneaking us in for a few minutes. How are you? Isn't this a great time of year?
Love this time of year. I mean, especially this week, Chris. You got 4 games yesterday, 4 games today. Increasing urgency with each day, obviously, because it's only 2 out of 3, and after yesterday, everybody's 1-0. So every game today is a do-or-die situation. It's great fun, and it's nice to flip the calendar, and it's terrific.
Yeah, baseball, I think, is, for lack of a better phrase, has hit a home run with these 2 out of 3 wild card series. I mean, they just give you drama right off the bat. I know that the teams that are waiting to play, they haven't had a lot of success, like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Guardians are waiting too. Are those teams going to be doing anything different to try to shake up the second round results this year?
Well, and you bring up a very interesting point. I'll tell you what, the Dodgers have tried a couple different things. I'm not sure what they're doing this week, but last 2 years ago, when they came here and got beaten by the Padres in the division series, that obviously stung the Dodgers, and they felt they were flat, and they felt the Padres played with more urgency. So last year, same situation. They won the division. They had the week off, only instead of the Padres playing in the wild card series, it was the Diamondbacks, who obviously the Dodgers ultimately got. So what the Dodgers decided to do after getting bounced by the Padres in 2022, again, Dave Roberts felt there was a lack of urgency, and they just weren't that sharp. So last year, what the Dodgers did during this week is they flipped their schedule, and they played some intra-squad games. 2 years ago, they did not. They thought last year maybe playing intra-squad games would keep them sharp. And as it didn't matter. Diamondbacks swept them three straight games. So, teams still haven't mastered, division winners, I should say, still have not mastered how to handle this week. And also, it's so new. I think 2022 is the first of this format, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 2021, but so the Dodgers have played around with a couple things, and neither has worked. So, now within that, part of the reason they tried simulated games last week last year, and it didn't work, but a lot of the reason the simulated games didn't work is because when the series against the Diamondbacks actually started, their pitching was shredded, and they had to go with an injured Clayton Kershaw in Game 1, and he got just brutalized in the first inning, and then they went with a rookie Game 2, and then it was over. So, we'll see how the teams come out this year, but it's still new enough in the format that teams just aren't quite – division winners just aren't quite sure, how to play their few days off.
Talking to Scott Miller here on 97.3 The Fan, Gwynn and Chris. And Scott, last night you were here. It was electric. When they announced Michael King as the Game 1 starter, we didn't question it, obviously, but we were kind of surprised by it. What do you think about Mike Shildt and his decision-making process here at the end of the season?
Well, it's been, he's been living a charmed life. Everything he's done has worked. It certainly gets your attention. When the Padres traded for Dylan Cease back right on the eve of the season opener, you looked at it, it's like, okay, this is a Game 1 starter. This is a stud. And then he has a good year, and we get to the end of the season, and then all of a sudden he's lined up for Game 3 in the playoffs. I thought it was eye-opening, no doubt, when they set their rotation. And part of it was like, man, Dylan Cease starting Game 3. But, all the power to Michael King. He was unbelievable last night. I got a kick out of, the tone of the questions from the Atlanta media to manager Brian Snitker after the game last night. The Atlanta media kept asking about their pitching, which is an obvious story because Atlanta had to play the doubleheader on Monday and they're running on fumes. But, they kept asking, the rookie that started, he only went one inning last night. Was that how tough was it to come back from that? And then they asked about all the other pitchers they used. But Snitker, a couple times he turned to somebody and said, look, we didn't score. It wasn't – our pitching was not the issue tonight. It was that we couldn't touch Michael King. And, so now the Padres, have another tough one tonight. The Braves' best shot, especially with Chris Sale out, was always going to be Max Fried, who's their starter tonight. He's the real deal. And, that's like, to me, 100% of Atlanta's hopes are on Max Fried. He could come out tonight and hold the Padres scoreless or give up maybe one run, and Atlanta wins, and they're right back in it. And then tomorrow night, it's, God knows what happens in the clinch games for either team. But if the Padres can scratch some runs off of Fried, then this thing is going to be over in 2 games.
Scott, let's talk a little. We've been, everybody's so excited right now from the Padres' perspective. But it is only it's one baseball game. It went perfectly for the Padres. I don't think the Padres are going to fall into that kind of trap, though, because the Braves still have, despite all the injuries, they've got an Albies, they got an Olsen, they've got Harris, they've got Ozuna, they've got Soler, who's a World Series MVP. This is still a team that you have to contend with and respect based on everything they've accomplished over the years. I thought it was interesting that ESPN put out something yesterday. 27 writers all picked the Padres to win this series. I think that said more about how good everybody thinks the Padres are as opposed to, maybe the Braves' shortcomings right now.
Well, I totally agree. I think, the Padres have certainly surged on a national level over the last couple of years. And I think a lot of people that watched the Padres fall on their face a year ago, and by people, a lot of media people, watched the Padres this year and understand this is a totally different team. It's a totally different year. The roster is so well constructed this year. There are fewer strikeouts in the lineup. And, Yeah, I think it definitely speaks more to the Padres that what you just said about 27 writers or media people picking the Padres. But to your point, that's part of why I said what I said about Max Fried earlier a couple minutes ago. Those names you just ticked off, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, Jorge Soler, Ozzie Albies. The Braves have a ton of postseason experience. They've been there, done that. They're not going to shrink from the moment. So that's why I say if Fried can stand up tonight and throw one of his classic games where he shuts the other team down, and the Braves can steal a win tonight, that's why I say then tomorrow gets scary to me, even with Dylan Cease, largely because of what you said. These Braves know what they're doing in the postseason, and it's kind of like, you don't want to let them up off the mat and give them a chance, because if you do, they've had a lot of success over the last few years in October. So, for me, it's all riding on Max Fried tonight.
Yeah, it's a good point, Scott. Last thing before I let you go, Michael King was heroic last night. Kyle Higashioka was heroic last night. I don't think that means that the Padres won the Juan Soto trade, but is it possible, based on what you've seen throughout the year and in the clubhouse and being around this Padre team, that maybe moving on from Juan Soto, when you combine it with what they got in return, was the best thing for this franchise, all things considered this year?
Is there a number, Chris, greater than 1,000% yes? Can I say 1,000,000% yes?
Really?
Yes, you can.
I credit for the Padres. I credit A.J. Preller for making that Juan Soto trade when they did a couple years ago. And I'm not going to second guess, because I was on board in the moment in real time. I thought, oh, my gosh, Juan Soto, that's a great acquisition. So this isn't a second guess. This is more just as I watched things play out. I hated Juan Soto last year on this team. I thought I've never seen a supposed superstar slugger so desperate for walks. And he doesn't steal bases, by the way. So when he did get a walk, he sat there on first, and you had to have 2 or 3 hits to bring him around to score. Hey, he's done great in New York this year. He's fit with the Yankees well. As I say, I was on board to get him, so I'm not knocking the Padres for making the move. But I loved the trade last year when they made it. I thought initially, and I've said on your airwaves, early this year in spring training, you guys, I don't know, I wish I had the clip I could dig out for you, but I said this spring that I think the Soto trade absolutely could be addition by subtraction, and that's, I think, exactly what it's proven out to be.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting point, Scott, and it may all be revisited, if things go the way the Padres and the Yankees would like them to go into the playoffs. We'll see. That's down the road. Tonight it's Game 2. Scott, thanks so much. Always good seeing you, and I'll see you in a little while.
All right, Chris, sounds good. Take care, buddy.
All right, there he goes, Scott Miller. Interesting comments about Soto, addition by subtraction.
I think he's kind of spot on, though.
He really, he
said it really well. He gets on first base, he gets the walk, and then you have to have 2 or 3 hits to get him around to score. And that's not good.
On the Yankees, you only need 1 hit to get him around to score because Judge hits it into the 13th deck. Yeah, we all know that I've not been the biggest Juan Soto guy, but you still also can't take away the fact he torched the American League this year.
He did.
I mean, he was absolutely dynamite.
I could go into all the stats of how the porch in right field and Yankee Stadium. Well, you were just at Yankee Stadium. Does it look like a Mickey Mouse home run to you?
Trent Grisham hit one when I was there.
Over that wall?
Yeah.
So it wasn't Mickey Mouse.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't mean to throw Trent under the bus here. All right, the first hour's in the books. Thanks to Scott Miller there. More on the Padres' victory last night. More on what's to come in Game 2. Gwynn and Chris with Chris and Matt Scraby broadcasting live from the loft at the Western Metal Supply Company building, Petco Park, 97.3 The Fan. And welcome back to it, San Diego, on the day of Game 2 of the National League Wild Card Series. At Petco Park, it is Gwynn and Chris broadcasting live from the 3rd floor, the 4th floor, way up here. I don't know, the Western Metal Supply Company building. It's the loft overlooking Petco Park. Fans will be coming in, in about 30 minutes or so, I think. Scraby, game time 5:30 today.
5:38.
5:38, thank you. Game 2. Last night, if you blinked, you missed it. 2 hours and 9 minutes was the time of the game last night.
It was quick.
It was quick. Padres made quick work of the Braves. Michael King made quick work of the Braves. A 4-0 victory for the Padres to give them a 1-0 lead. Earlier today, the Detroit Tigers eliminated the Houston Astros 5-2.
That was a tiger.
Oh, I thought that was a Pittsburgh Pirate, the way that sounded, actually.
That's the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, 5-2. Detroit knocks out the Astros. They did it with a 4-run rally in the 8th inning. The final 3 runs came in off of Josh Hader, who gave up the bases-loaded double, and it was a double.
It was a double.
We had somebody text in and say, Chris was bear misinformation. It was a triple. No, he went to 3rd on the throw, so it was officially a double for Andy Ibanez, but it cleared the bases with 2 outs off of Josh Hader in the 8th inning. The man who did not want to pitch in the 8th inning last year probably shouldn't have pitched in the 8th inning today because the Astros season is now over. It makes something very...
you've got to use your big money guy.
But, he has to be willing to come in.
He was.
And for Houston, he was willing to come in. So, the karma got you, Josh Hader, I'm sorry to say. It is interesting to me, though, Scraby, the best-of-3 wild card series, which is, where all 3 games are played in the same ballpark, started
3
2
games
years
in a
ago.
row, too.
2022 and last year, and now this is the 3rd year. So with the completion of the Detroit-Houston series now, 2-0 Detroit, the team that has won Game 1 is now 9-0 in these series. Furthermore, 8 of the 9 series have been 2-game sweeps. Who's ever won Game 1 has won Game 2. The only series where that did not happen
I think I know.
Was the Padres
and the
when
Mets.
They took Game 1 in New York,
yes.
Lost Game 2, and then Musgrove won Game 3. That's the only one of these that has even gone to a 3rd game. I think that's a little strange.
That is strange.
But it speaks to how much pressure is immediately put on the losing team in Game 1 because
you're
now
staring down this end of your season right out the gate.
Season's over.
Like you have no time to, all right, we lost Game 1, we could still take Game 2, 3, 4. No, you can't because you're staring down the end of your season now.
You're watching the Orioles here. They're down 1-0. It's only the 5th inning, but
the pressure.
The pressure's starting to build now. The Orioles are down. They're facing elimination. Like I said, it's 1-0 in the 5th inning, but are they going to be the 10th straight team that loses Game 1 and also the series? We will see. The Mets looked real good last night. I do think they have a little magic, Scraby, as is part of my trips around the world, it seems. I did finish up in New York City, and I was there Monday when they beat the Braves to clinch their spot in the playoff. That was an unbelievable game, by the way. Monday afternoon, Lindor hits the final shot in the 9th inning, the 2-run homer. The Mets, to me, are the closest to the magic of the Padres.
I agree.
So I worry about the Mets' magic. They rallied again last night. They have a belief, like the Padres, that they can always come from behind. The one thing the Mets don't have that the Padres do have, they don't have any shutdown starting pitching. I mean, they don't have Michael King, Dylan Cease, Joe Musgrove. The Mets are kind of cobbling it together.
You got Sean Manaea and
these guys
Severino.
These guys are okay, but they're not the same caliber as what the Padres have. But that's way down the road, right? The Padres are nowhere near facing the Mets yet. We've got to win tonight. Then you got the Dodgers. Then we might have to worry about the Mets. So let's worry about tonight a little bit, Scraby. Here's the thing that doesn't go away in the back of my mind. And Tony and I, we talked
For all
about
you
it.
not on YouTube, he pointed to the back of his mind.
I did point to the back of my mind. But the Padres are facing a lefty tonight. And you have to go back to the month of May, the month of June, when the Padres went about 2 straight months. Not only could they not beat a lefty, they could hardly score a run off a lefty.
You and Sam Levitt were just following the stat like it
Really?
was the best
And
stat of all time.
I didn't. It was the worst stat of all time.
Yeah, worst, yeah.
But it was so incredibly, bad. I mean, the Padres would get no more than 1 run per game against left-handed starters, no matter who it was. Nick Lodolo, Jose Quintana. I mean, it didn't matter.
I remember the Nick Lodolo night for sure.
Whoever was the lefty pitching, the Padres rolled right over. Now, the Padres have corrected that in July, August, and down. Okay. But statistically, and I do believe in this kind of stuff, statistically the Padres still were far worse against lefties this year than they were against righties. They just were. They led the majors in batting average. The Padres did .263. It's the first time in franchise history that the Padres led the major leagues in batting average. But they did not achieve that because of their great success against left-handed pitching. And as Scott Miller pointed out, Max Fried is a guy that could win a game for the Braves tonight. So, the Padres, to me, have to play this game like there's no tomorrow. Because if you don't play tonight like there's no tomorrow, you won't be matching the Braves.
You're right.
Because the Braves are going to play it like there's no tomorrow.
This is it for them.
Right.
You have to play like that.
Yes, you do.
And don't worry, in the back of my mind when I saw Max Fried was starting, I immediately thought about the lefty stuff, and I was like, well, because a couple of the articles that I read previewing the series, one was from Fangraphs, and they specifically pointed out the lefty versus righty, problem for the Padres, and it did make me take pause. But this team is so locked in right now. It doesn't matter who's pitching, lefty or righty or Max Fried. I mean, I hope Max Fried is going to give up some runs like he did last time he faced the Padres. I don't have any worries about those things in the playoffs.
Yeah, I am so supremely confident in this Padre ball club that, I tweeted out today that their win last night put them 12 victories from a parade. And I took a little heat for that.
I was going to say.
I took a little heat from Padre fans. They don't want to see that. They're like, don't jinx it. I don't worry about these jinxes right now because you know what takes care of a jinx? A really good team. And I'm looking at the Padres, and just ask yourself, where is the hole in this Padre club? Is it starting pitching?
Nope.
Is it bullpen?
Nope.
Is it offense? They got the best batting average. Is it hitting,
defense?
putting the ball in play?
Nope.
They hit contact more than any other team. Defensively, they're really good. Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Tatis, Merrill, even Profar. The only area I could even think of as I watched the game last night that I thought the Padres are not tip-top is defensively at first base, where Donovan Solano is kind of just in there for his bat.
Yeah.
But if that's your weakness,
you're nitpicking to find
you're
a
really
weakness.
nitpicking, yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and I had to slow myself down on the drive down here because I was already thinking ahead to tomorrow's show, and I was like, where are we going to be? Oh, we're going to be in studio because there's not going to be a game. And I thought, wait, they actually have to play this game.
Yes,
so,
they do.
I have to slow myself down a little bit.
I think everybody does.
I think we all feel it, though. We all feel the confidence this team has. We all feel that they are ready to go on and do something big in the playoffs. And I don't think there's anything wrong with us being supremely confident heading into tonight.
I think you should be. I think you should be supremely confident as a fan. As a team, you should be confident, but you should also play this one like your life depends on it.
And I think they have a season.
I think they will, but I'm saying the Braves are going to play it like that. Their whole season's on the line. Padres have to match that. So I think that's kind of the thing tonight. And, I don't think you worry about Game 3. I think if you're up in the late innings, boom, you get in Adam, you get in Scott, you get in Suarez, you get in Estrada, whoever you got to get in. If Musgrove has to come up, whatever it is, you play this one to wrap it up tonight.
And Michael King helped out so much last night because he went 7 innings.
Yeah.
They didn't need the ASS, which is Adam, Scott, and Suarez. They just needed the Adam and the Suarez.
They just need last night.
Because Sam Levitt, it's not as cool.
It's not
Sam
as good.
Levitt last night, as I was driving home, I was listening to him do the post-game show, and he was saying that, like, if Michael King was pitching like that maybe in a later round, he had – I think 89 pitches last night when he came out of the game.
Yeah.
You may just leave him in there because he was that good last night, and he had no signs of slowing down.
No,
or
he
no
didn't.
signs of struggling.
He didn't. However, I have said this, and I will continue to say that. The guy who I feel most confident with on the mound of all of the Padres is Jason Adam.
Oh, I thought you were
He's
going to go Joe
No,
Musgrove.
Jason Adam. He's the one guy. I mean, he struck out the side last night. He's throwing this stuff up there. I don't know, where the Braves have no chance. I just love to watch this guy. So, if I got him in the 8th inning, I'm taking it. I'm just going to say, you know what, give me that scoreless 8th inning, and then Higashioka homers, and now I go to the 9th, I've got it. So, but I know what you're saying because, look, King was really spectacular last night.
He said that. You know what I'm learning about Michael King is that he's a really humble dude, but he's also got huge goals. And they asked him last night, was this everything you dreamed of? And he said, actually, I dreamed of throwing a perfect game.
Yes, he did say that.
And then he went on to say, they asked him, did you help win the Soto trade last night? And he said, well, we'll have to see when it comes Halloween time, which is the end of the World Series. Michael King is supremely confident. This whole team is supremely confident. You're only as good as the pitcher that sets the tone for you, and he set the tone perfectly last night.
Well,
perfect, Chris.
Well, he also said when he was acquired in January that he felt the Padres won the Juan Soto trade then. He said it, quote, I can't believe the Yankees gave up this much talent for one guy. He said that then. He backed it up last night.
He did. And A.J. Preller deserves credit, too, because we've heard this trade go through so many different fluctuations. Michael King was always a part of it. Michael King was the key to making this trade happen for the Yankees. And the Yankees needed Juan Soto, so they ended up taking maybe a trade package that they weren't comfortable with, and it ends up working just perfect for the Padres.
Well, it's also worked for the Yankees, so let's not forget that.
Soto
has been really good for the Bronx Bombers. All right, we're going to take a little break. The Orioles have just tied it up.
Okay, good.
Cedric Mullins hits a solo home run off Seth Lugo in the bottom of the 5th inning. It is now Royals 1, Orioles 1 in Game 2 of that American League Series. Padres going for the clincher tonight over the Braves. Gwynn and Chris coming back with some of our friends starting to come in here. Let's hear it out here, people. Let's get going. Yeah, well, it was something.
It's the first people here.
It's the first stragglers coming in.
Yesterday at
Petco
Baja
Park.
Ricks, I had no problem getting people excited, Chris. I was just, hey, come on, let's go.
Well, there's only a few people that
go.
We got it. These are diehards, man. 2 hours and a half before the game. They're getting ready here at the Loft, and we're coming back with more on 97.3 The Fan. All right, welcome back. Gwynn and Chris. Tony was with us earlier from the press box. He's down there getting all the pregame news and notes.
No oats.
No oats. Yeah, right. Game 2 of the National League Wild Card Series. Still a couple of hours away at Petco Park. Padres and the Braves. Crisello, Matt Scraby. We are at the Loft, Western Metal Supply Company building. Fans are starting. I would do kind of a solid trickle.
I
of
think
fans
Padres members get in early, and then the gates open to everybody else a little bit after
the
that.
The floodgates open.
Yes, the actual gates to the other people open, but Padres members get in early.
Well, I want to thank a lot of the fans are here, and several of them saying, "Hey, Chris, good to have you back."
I roll my eyes every time.
I was happy to thank you so much for saying that, my my sister over there welcoming me back.
You were missed, Chris. I will tell you. As time went along, I
yeah, right.
I was like, man, I kind of miss Chris coming back because Braden and I did and Tony, of course. But
I thank Braden and everybody who filled in, and I know Sam and everybody. But.
Yeah, but we kind of missed you. I gotta say.
Well, you need that cranky voice, to be injected into the proceedings a little bit.
So here's a funny story while you're gone. And when we don't have a game to talk about, we'll talk about your vacation. But funny story about the triple play in Dodger Stadium. First off, when did you find out this whole triple play happened? What was your reaction to it?
My reaction to it was amazed but not amazed, because that is what the magic of this team has been all year. Could never predict something like that.
No.
But it was the icing on a very magical run to the playoffs. I found out about it. I had no internet service out at sea.
Oh, well,
you
yes.
You can't get any internet
you don't
service.
Have satellite that gives you internet?
Let me tell you something. If you ever go on a cruise nowadays, they string you up by the britches for internet service when you're at sea. They wanted to charge us $50 a day for internet while we were at sea, but you couldn't buy just one day. You had to buy it was a 10-day cruise. You had to lay down 500 smackers if you wanted internet. And if I got it and my wife got it, $1,000?
Wait, you need two of them?
No, we wouldn't. But you know what I'm saying? If both of us got internet, that would have been $1,000 to get internet while we were at sea. So
I would wait, too.
We didn't do it. We're like, forget that. I mean,
I bet you people would spend – I bet you they would have more buyers if they would do it daily than if they were to do a flat fee. I'm sure that they look into the numbers and all that, but it makes no sense that you can't buy a day and you're stuck on a boat. So they're basically forcing you to give up the internet, which works for you and Lori because you guys don't necessarily.
No,
need
it was
the
okay,
internet.
but I couldn't keep track of the games as they were going along. So you asked me when I found out about the triple play.
Yeah.
We pulled into some port somewhere the next morning
and your
at
phone
like
goes
5
crazy.
in the morning, and I got on the internet, and I'm like, wow, what an unbelievable thing. Then I listened to Jesse's call, and I listened to Orsillo's call.
Yes.
And then I listened to Jesse's call. And then I listened to Orsillo's call, and then again and again. I mean, it was great to feel like I was almost there, even though I wasn't there.
This story has to do with Jesse's call. Okay. So I listened to it 100 times too because it was amazing. Because Jesse's call was so like, Nick, if you can pull up Jesse's triple play call so we can share it with everyone. But it was shock, bewilderment, amazement, surprise, everything that we were all feeling.
Didn't he before? And I don't know this because I wasn't here. Didn't he, when the Rojas came to bat, say all we need here is a triple play?
I was listening live, and he goes, all we need is a triple play, but, that's a lot to ask. And
is
then,
that what
boom,
he said?
It happened, Chris.
That's unbelievable.
So I go to Tony the next day because we're all talking about Jesse's call. We're playing Jesse's call. And I go, Tony, really good job of staying out of that call. Because we always talk about rate the radio call, and Tony always learns that he needs to stay out of it. And I was like, man, that you showed some restraint because that was a huge play. He goes, I wasn't even there. I was down in the clubhouse getting ready for interviews. I guess him and Mud had to go get ready for the clinching celebration. So in the bottom of the ninth,
Yeah.
they're heading down together, have no idea that this is happening with Robert Suarez allowing runners on base.
Yeah.
They get downstairs and they see, oh, no, like this is turning really quick.
Yeah.
So Tony wasn't even there. Mud and Tony didn't even know this was happening. And then all of a sudden the game ends and everybody comes in happy. And it was just such a whirlwind for those guys and everyone. It was
Did they
amazing.
at least get to watch it on television?
They
in
did.
The
And
clubhouse?
I guess Mud said he called the triple play before it happened.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, I love you, Mud, but you're gonna be tough to convince anybody of that. But yeah, that was really something. And like I said, I couldn't be part of it, but I was sure celebrating. When I found out about it, Scraby, it was the perfect cap to a season that included, Profar's heroics, Manny's heroics, Merrill's heroics, the Cease no-hitter. There were so many things, and then Nick found, okay, so this is how it all, if you didn't hear it, which I didn't really, let's hear it.
0-1. Swinging away, ground ball to Machado. He hits third, that's one. Goes to second in time, on to first, a triple play! A triple play! And the ball game is over! The Padres clinch a postseason berth on a 5-4-3 triple play.
There's two calls in Jesse's history that I've been working on this station that I can remember almost by heart. It's that one, the Slammerina call as well, when Daniel Cameron hit a grand slam off Max Scherzer. But that call, Ben said it best on Twitter. In 30 years, his grandchildren are going to hear that call.
Well,
and it's going to stand up.
Like you said, I listened to it 3 or 4 times when I finally got around, to finding out about it. And I wanted to tell Jesse, and I haven't seen him yet. I thought, number one, it was the perfect amount of restraint to still make it a classy call, but it was also the perfect amount of excitement to make it a historical call.
Yeah.
And that is really saying something for, a radio guy to strike just the right note on that, and Jesse deserves a lot of, credit for that one.
Last thing about the triple play and all of the things that came this season, there's a stat. The Padres are the only team in baseball history to have a no-hitter, an 8-run comeback, back-to-back-to-back homers twice, and a triple play all in the same season. If that doesn't tell you how magical this season is, I don't know what else will tell you that.
Yeah.
Because that has never happened before.
I've said it all year. I can't define it. I can't define what's magical. I just know it when I see it, and I've seen it a lot this season for the Padres. All right. We were going to do a daily gambit, but what are the odds for tonight's game, Scrape? What do you have? I mean, we don't need an intro or anything.
Total number of runs on the game. We're not going to make it back.
The total number of runs is very low tonight, is it not?
6.5.
That's
over
low.
Under. Max Fried and Joe Musgrove.
Yeah, 6.5. What would you bet if you were betting it? 6.5. I mean, is the
I
score
feel like
going to
the
be
Padres are smelling blood.
3-2? I don't think so.
Maybe 6.
I think it's going to go over.
3.
I think it's going to go over. The Braves aren't going to get shut out again. The Padres are going to have to do some scoring. I think it'll go over 6.5.
Here's another bet I found.
Okay.
Which starting pitcher is the first to 3 strikeouts?
To 3 strikeouts.
Max Fried or Joe Musgrove?
Musgrove can win that bet before Fried ever gets
That's
out
true.
to the mound.
That's why he's the favorite. Joe Musgrove.
If he strikes out, like Michael King struck out the side in the first inning last
night. He did.
Night.
Jason Adams struck it out. I think Michael King struck out the side a couple times last night. He was just incredible. I can't get over it. This hour is brought to you by the roofing professionals at Extreme Roofing of San Diego. Mother Nature is unpredictable, and so is the San Diego rain. Don't wait till your roof suffers damage. Call Extreme Roofing of San Diego to prepare your investment from catastrophe. Schedule your roof inspection now, 619-334-ROOF, 619-334-ROOF, or online at extremeroofs.com.
All right, we got another hour to go before Sam Levitt's pregame show. The fans, they just rang the bells here. So Petco Park is open for business.
It always warms my heart when I hear that. It feels like Disneyland for some reason.
The Padres and the Braves, Game 2. We're broadcasting live, so if you're out there, coming up and say hello. We're in the loft in the Western Metal Supply Company building, 3rd floor up there, and overlooking Petco Park, getting ready for tonight's game. Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, Tony Gwynn Jr., Gwynn and Chris on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey everybody, it's Scraby here for SD Fat Loss, and I lost 40 pounds thanks to SD Fat Loss. Yesterday when we were at Baja Rick's Cantina, I met 2 people that lost a combined 97 pounds thanks to SD Fat Loss, and I asked them, how hard was it for you to actually lose the weight? And they said it wasn't hard for them at all because SD Fat Loss set them up on a program that worked for them. SD Fat Loss set me up on a program that worked for me, and I lost 40 pounds because of it. And I learned a lot about nutrition. I learned a lot about what I should be eating. How much I should be eating is one of the biggest keys for me, is the portion control. But SD Fat Loss was there every step of the way for me, and they were also there after I stopped the program, because they're not just concerned with you losing the weight, they're concerned with you keeping that weight off. So I have changed my lifestyle. I now eat lunches only in the SD Fat Loss program style because I like how I feel now, and I like the compliments too. I'm not going to lie. I like it when people tell me that I look like I have lost some weight. So you need to give them a call right now. $200 off the program if you mention Scraby from 97.3 The Fan sent you, or you can go to sdfatloss.com.
If you love Mediterranean food, like I do, like Scraby does, even though he successfully negotiated SD fat loss, he still loves Mediterranean food. Try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine. It's in Coronado. It's in La Jolla. It's here at Petco Park. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. Chris Ello, Matt Scraby at Petco Park, where tonight it's Game 2 of the National League Wild Card Series. This is a whole lot more fun than 2 years ago, Scraby, when the Wild Card Series was in New York.
Yes.
I mean, to get to experience it, just to sit in this ballpark during a playoff game, it's such a great feeling. I mean, the fans make it incredible. I know everybody thinks they got the best fans, right? We got the best fans. We care the most. We're this. We're loud. We're rude. We're obnoxious. But, I mean, the Padre fans, to me, don't have to take a back seat to anybody with the kind of atmosphere that they provide here at Petco Park in the playoffs. You've got to experience it, and you can almost – it's not just that you can hear it, Scrabe, you can feel it.
Oh, yeah. Last night, Tony said it earlier, these fans, Padres fans, know exactly what they're cheering for, know when to cheer, know when to when they're needed, the fans are. And last night, they were loud the entire night. The towels were waving the entire night. They were on their feet the entire night. And
well
it was
before the game started.
Well before the game started.
Right.
Now, if you're talking about other fans around the league, I get it. You think your fans are great, as you just said. I want to point to something like June 22nd or July 18th. Let's see what your park is bringing, and let's see what Petco Park is bringing, because Petco Park is sold out 45,000 people, even when they're playing in the middle of the season. Not the same can be said about other teams and other stadiums.
Let's also say, though, that this hasn't always been the case in San Diego.
No.
Peter Seidler, I think, helped kind of kick this whole thing off by making the kind of commitment that he made, Ron Fowler before him, but to build this into a really, really good team, spending the money, making the commitment to the fans, the fan base, the faithful. And the fans have responded to that. So
I will say, though, whenever I see a 50 to 75-year-old man on the big screen acting like he's never been on camera before, it's so funny to me, because people get so into being on the big jumbotron at Petco Park. It's hilarious. There were so many good dad dances last night in the stands.
Bobby Witt Jr. RBI single has put the Royals back ahead of the Orioles.
My guy.
2-1.
My guy.
In the top of the sixth inning, Witt had the only RBI in the game yesterday. Bobby Witt Jr., Francisco Lindor, neither of those guys is going to be the MVP of their leagues, but both guys have had MVP seasons.
Can I bring something up that just hit me about fans? So last night, during the game, we all were in the press box, and we heard a BLA chant. And we were like, is that BLA? And so I did some research, and yes, fans were cheering BLA. Now, I would love to beat LA, but LA is not your opponent right now. You cannot be. I just gave the fans all the credit in the world for being smart fans. You cannot be chanting BLA as they are trying to beat the Atlanta Braves. I don't know what happened yesterday, but that was glaring to me. I don't know why we're focused on the Dodgers when the Braves are still here.
One thing, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt, his pregame press conference earlier today. It's quite a bit long, but it's going to get you everything you need to know. You hear all the questions and answers from the Padre manager.
Oh, I guess there were Dodgers fans in the stands that were chanting it.
Whatever.
Well,
go home. Look, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt in a minute. But before we do that, I got to just say I wasn't here when it happened. It was Monday night. The passing of Pete Rose.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that Pete Rose, there's so many different ways to look at this. You know, whether you love him or hate him, as I tweeted the other night, I just hope all the Padres play like him in the playoffs. Because if they do that, they're going to be hard to beat. You can never argue that Pete Rose played the game the right way and played the game as hard as any player ever has. And I think hopefully that will be more of his legacy than will be the gambling, denying, just not getting it Pete Rose of the last 30 years. I hope that is not what he's remembered by. He probably will be by a younger generation. But to my generation, Scraby, he's always going to be one of the great players in the history of the sport. And I still say that any account of the game that talks about the greatest of the game, to me, has to include Pete Rose. And that's why I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. And here's one more thing. He received a lifetime ban from A. Bartlett Giamatti in 1989.
Yep.
A lifetime ban. Well, his lifetime has passed. And maybe it's time that you finally put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. It's not going to change it for Pete Rose, but it's going to mean a lot to a lot of people from my generation anyway, who believe that he made his mistakes, but he still needs to be cataloged with the greatest in the game. The lifetime ban, his lifetime's over. What
it is?
What are we going to do now?
You know what I found?
Do it for us.
And I do. Yes.
You know what I mean? Do it for us. Those of us who feel like Pete, belongs there.
I found it very wrong, actually, when I opened up my app the other day, my MLB app, and they were telling me that Pete Rose died sponsored by BetMGM. Like,
get out of here.
Like, it was on the bottom. Like, it's like it was like a breaking news thing. And you know how everything just gets that tag of sponsored by BetMGM? Yeah. That's one of those things where you need to make sure that you're not
That's not a good look. Yeah,
it's not a good look.
That didn't work out well. Anyway, R.I.P. Mr. Pete Rose. Thank you, at least from my perspective, anybody my age who watched him play, I think you think the same thing. I mean, just amazing to watch that guy play baseball. And the rest of it was a nightmare. There's no question about it. All right, let's hear from Mike Shildt, who's hoping that his Padres can clinch the series tonight. But first, to check of traffic, then the pregame press conference.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Problems along the 78 on the eastbound side on or near the Twin Oaks Valley Road off-ramp. There's a collision involving a couple vehicles. Also, earlier vehicle fire, West 78 past Nordall Road, not showing if lanes are blocked. Also going to find on northbound 15, just before Auto Park Way, two-car collision over to the right shoulder. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on southbound 805 near Balboa. A couple cars involved there in the center divide. And we got a crash on northbound 5 right before the racetrack. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hi, Mike. Joe talked yesterday about being really patient coming back and kind of letting that process work out longer than he might have in the past. I was wondering if you could just kind of talk to that mentality, because it is kind of a shift for him in the way he likes to operate.
Yeah, Joe's a pedal to the metal kind of guy, getting after it. And so rightfully he was agreeable to take a little step back. And not to say, and again, I can't speak for him clearly about how he feels with his body, but, he wanted to make sure he got it right and to be able to, when he came back, be able to get to the point where he is now. So I applaud him for that.
AJ, down here in the front.
Mike, in a lot of ways, this is a different roster from the one that reported to spring training. Like in early February, Profar, Merrill was called up, and then all the acquisitions arise, the trade deadline cease. How big has that been, and how did this group kind of go about welcoming all those guys on board? I know with Profar and Merrill, they're already there, but just bringing those guys into the fold and making this all work.
Yeah, I mean, our roster was clearly in flux. They just did a well-documented, tremendous job of putting it together over the course of the season. But, there's a lot of question marks going into spring training, to your question. The good news is we had a core of guys that have been here and have, established to be here for a while. So we built off that foundation with, Manny and Joe and Bogey and Croney and Darvish and Toddy and Bogey. So, I mean, that group, that's the pillars. Now we've added to it. So, we knew we had a foundation here. And And then, like you say, Profar signed during spring training. Jackson been in the organization, counting on and hopeful for him to break, and he more than earned that clearly with the way he played in spring training. And, we had Dylan at the end, but, it's a talk about the guys from the Yankees, King and Vasquez and Brito and, of course, Higgy and that group. There's a lot of new faces here. So we were able to work with our leadership group, the players, the core group, and make sure that and our staff was new. Of course, I'm a new manager, so it took a while, and we had a shorter spring training to go over to Korea. So we had a lot of moving parts. We took advantage of the days we had prior to spring training, and intentional about the days we had during spring training, and intentional about the days we had. We were talking to Tony on the radio show last week about the first half, being intentional of those days that allowed us to continue to build and get better as we went.
Can you speak to just generally your mindset in a game 2 where you have a 1-0 lead? It's not do or die per se, but obviously you want to attack it like it is in a way. What is your mindset there?
We're going to play to win. We're going to get after it. Yeah, I mean it's it's great what we did last night, but it's only as good as following up with one more.
Go to the far right, second row.
Hi, Mike. I've heard pitchers throughout the years just really praise Ruben and his impact on them. From your perspective in your first year with this team, I mean, what has he done that's helped the staff so much?
Ruben's been great. Ruben Ben Fritz, our bullpen coach. Peter Somerville does a lot of our game planning. But Ruben's he's got a nice, beautiful blend of, all the things that we use now in our sport, from a metric, from a technological standpoint, shape, spin, game planning that I mentioned with Peter, but he also has a feel of people too, and he's able to individualize it, and he does a really, really good job of partnering with especially our starters, of what they are doing and how they're going about things and how they're attacking and making adjustments as he goes. And he's just got a really, really broad ability to connect, to bring things together. So Ruben's done a phenomenal job.
Come back to the left side, second row, Tony.
Mike, in going back to spring training, you talked a lot about an identity and how that would evolve over the course of the season. At what point did you start to see the kind of finished product in your eyes that you were looking for at that point in spring training?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always believe, still do, that championship players think and do for themselves, and we've got a group of players that I've already mentioned that clearly have had a lot of success in the game, but took the next step to incorporating and showing and shepherding the rest of the players, and worked in concert with the staff, and so we could figure out how we wanted to compete every day and how we wanted to continue to be better as the game goes, series goes, season goes. There's a continual growth mindset to that, and so you just started to see the synergy take place. Sometime after the All-Star break, when you started to see everybody kind of getting comfortable with each other, the communication lines were very consistent, and it got to be really about the greater good of how are we going to win, and that being the sole reason for everybody walking in the doors every day in the clubhouse.
In your experience, is that different for each team in terms of the timing of that? Did the season starting as early as it did that play a part in all of this?
Definitely each team has its own rhythm. There's a different timing to it. I always feel like every year that's the race that we and I, are working towards, that race of getting everybody on the same page. And, it's a real challenge. There's a lot of people with a lot of different AJL has helped with this, before the season. We started talking about this is, what are your preferences? We all have our preferences, especially guys that have been doing this for a long time. And what are your non-negotiables? And how do we marry it to where you're okay with a preference not being in a team setting, including myself, by the way. This is not, it's not like this. It's like this with us. We started the season talking about being together. But together, what are our non-negotiables as a group, and what are we going to stand for? And everybody has to give something to get that. And that's special, and that's hard to get.
Let's go to Sam, straight back.
Hey, Mike.
Where at?
Oh. Right here. Joe Musgrove obviously has had a lot of success on the mound during his time in San Diego. He's also seemingly been a pretty significant voice inside the clubhouse. I'm wondering, in your position this year as his manager, in your eyes, what has Joe's impact on this team been, even beyond the mound, but inside the clubhouse?
Joe's most impressive part of this season and his impact was when he was not pitching. It really was. It was a masterclass and a privilege for me to see him when clearly disappointed, a lot of expectations for him and the team going into the season. And when he wasn't on the field competing, he could have easily, gone a different direction with his desire, not necessarily his desire to come back, because that's just part of Joe Musgrove's DNA. He's going to compete to get back to perform. But he could easily have disassociated himself with the team a little bit and felt like, hey, what do I have to contribute because I'm not performing? But instead, he took the complete opposite approach to it. He stood up and still led by his actions of how he went about things. He started to get really involved with the clubhouse and make sure everybody was, including with myself, and it was a partnership that I have with a lot of our players about what's this looking like, but he really took the bull by the horns and continued to pour into guys and set an example of what we expect here in this organization. And, leading by example is one thing. He does it very, very well, and he was able to lead without actually performing on the field for a couple months, and it was very impressive. Big part of it while we're here.
Joe Musgrove already is in the annals of having pitched, what's fair, 2 of the top 5 games in franchise history, at least.
Where do they rank?
Well, I mean,
the
look.
no-hitter and then his game against the Mets.
Right. Those are the 2 I'm obviously talking
Yes.
about. 2 of the greatest games in Padre history. Now, when I think of greatest starts in Padre history, I think of Kevin Brown against the Astros in the playoff when he struck out 16 and
We were
beat
talking
Randy
about
Johnson.
that last night.
That was insane. I think Dylan Cease's no-hitter has to be there. Sterling Hitchcock in Atlanta to clinch the 98 pennant. I think those are the top 5, at least off the top of my head. So Musgrove's got 2 of them. Let's make it 3 tonight, Joe.
Michael King might be making an
King
argument at some point in this
there last
postseason.
night. Good point, Scraby. More Gwynn and Chris coming up from Petco Park on 97.3 The Fan.
starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris special playoff edition of the Gwynn and Chris program. Chris Ello and Matt Scraby together live here at the Loft in the Western Metal Supply Company building. Top floor of the Western Metal Supply Company building where it's pretty crowded here, Scraby.
It is.
I'm looking around, a couple of things. One, don't see in my view, correct me if I'm wrong, don't see in my view, and there's probably 200 people in my view, don't see a Braves hat or jersey anywhere in here.
You're right. I'm looking around. I can't find it.
Normally somebody sneaks in with the opposition colors on, but I don't see.
They didn't really have enough time to get here,
any representation.
They found out Monday night.
That's true. That's true. Secondly, see this cup that's sitting on the table right here?
Yeah, the Joe Musgrove cup.
It's a picture of Joe Musgrove on this cup.
Yes.
You know who Joe Musgrove looks like at a quick glance? He looks like our board operator, Nick DiNucci.
No, he doesn't.
I'm telling you what.
It's
Nick,
not true.
This picture of Joe Musgrove on the cup looks like our board op, Nick DiNucci.
Nick, nothing against you, but you do not look like Joe Musgrove.
To say, hey, no offense taken. You're flattering me if you say I look like Musgrove.
In fact, I thought that was a picture of Nick DiNucci when I looked over there.
I love it.
Oh, man.
I love it.
It's Joe Musgrove.
I don't see it, but that's hilarious.
Appreciate you.
I
you,
was going to say me? Me?
No, nobody looks like you.
I got the beard and everything and the serious look.
Nobody looks like you, thankfully. we got Mary and Antoinette. They're twin sisters sitting over here. They both have special edition Joe Musgrove hats. They've known Joe since he's a little boy.
Yep.
And they have their hats and they're signed and they're ready.
They're always here. They're big fans.
They're loaded for a bear tonight. We got this young lady here in the front row who has the Joe Musgrove cap. She loves me because I called her young lady, absolutely. But everybody's got a lot of Musgrove stuff, and obviously everybody's excited. It's game 2 of the playoffs tonight. Where else would you rather be?
Someone said you need your glasses.
I need my glasses?
Yeah, about the Joe Musgrove, Nick DiNucci thing.
Well, whoever said that, do they know what Nick DiNucci looks like?
Yeah, because he's sometimes on the chat, like when Sam takes over or something.
I do have a funny one. I think someone said I look like the caddy from either Caddyshack or what is the other?
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
You look like the caddy from Happy Gilmore.
I think the caddy from Happy Gilmore is the same guy in Grandma's Boy, and that made me die laughing. It was so funny.
I love it when Adam Sandler pushes him over. Where are you going with those clubs, punk?
That's Joe. That guy reminds me of Joe Musgrove. Come on, guys. Come on.
You were in Canada far too long.
Oh man, I was been everywhere, Scraby. Here's my itinerary.
Yeah, give me the itinerary.
Just quick itinerary where I've been for 2 weeks. Quebec City.
Okay. Montreal.
That's where we started. No, not Montreal. Quebec City. It's a different city.
I thought Montreal was like the state.
No, Montreal is a city in the province of Quebec.
Ah.
And then there's a city also called Quebec City. So that's where the excursion started.
Very, very unique naming.
Yes, we went to Nova Scotia. We went to Prince Edward Island. We went to Halifax. We went to Portland, Maine. We went to Bar Harbor, Maine. We went to Boston, Newport, Rhode Island, and finally New York City.
I've heard good things about where was the third place you went?
Nova Scotia, Halifax.
After that, some guy.
Portland, Maine.
Some guy's island.
Oh, Prince Edward Island.
Yeah, I've heard about that island. I don't know why. What's there?
A bunch of shops and stuff.
Your wife must have loved it.
Just like every other island. They have a bunch of shops and they try to sell you a bunch of stuff.
Lori would love this place.
Was
it cold?
A little bit cold, but not bad. Not overly hot, but a little chilly, a little on the chilly side. But we did get to Fenway. A game.
Yeah.
We did make it out there to Fenway, and obviously we did take in a game at Yankee Stadium.
So tell me about Yankee Stadium. I've heard many different things about it.
Listen to this, everybody. You will not believe this story about my trip to Yankee Stadium on Sunday with my wife, Lori, and her uncle, Les. Wonderful, great guy. I could go on and on about how great this guy is. But he got us tickets when we told him we were coming to town. And he got us tickets for the Yankee game this past Sunday, final day of the regular season. Pittsburgh Pirates, Yankees.
Oh, man, you could have seen Skeen sit on the bench.
Yeah, I could have seen Skeen doing what he's doing now,
yeah,
which
sitting
is nothing.
Sitting somewhere not on a baseball field.
Right. So we show up. It's raining all day on Sunday in New York City. Just drizzling, but raining, kind of in that middle drizzle rain area.
Oh, yeah, because I know Aaron Rodgers and the Jets had trouble in the rain.
Well, too bad for them. I didn't have time to deal with them. But we take the subway up to the Bronx, which is, kind of exciting. You're going up there and you get off, and there's a lot of Yankee fans on the train and the subway, and everybody gets off, and you get there and you're waiting in line, and it's raining, and you got umbrellas, and they're waiting, and you're getting in, and it's Yankee Stadium, and there's a poster of Babe Ruth, and there's one of Lou Gehrig.
That's awesome.
And then there's Joe DiMaggio. Then Mickey Mantle. Oh yeah,
Trent Grisham.
Trent Grisham didn't have a poster. But
Michael King should have one for us.
Incredible to just walk into Yankee Stadium. So we get to our seats, and on the scoreboard, we're there about an hour before the game because we want to experience the whole thing.
Yeah.
And on the scoreboard it says, today's game will not start on time because of the rain. We'll let you know once we know more information.
Ooh, I don't like the open-ended part of that.
That's what it said. So we sat there for an hour, and then the game time came and went, and they never told us anything. So we sat there a little longer, and we chatted, and we took in the sights, and we walked around, and we sat back down.
There's only so much walking around you can do.
Yeah, I mean, And so we've kind of got the whole feel of Yankee Stadium by this point. We're like, when are they going to play the game? Are they going to play the game? Lori's Uncle Les is like, how long do we have to wait? He's not really a big baseball fan. He doesn't really get this whole rain delay thing.
Okay.
Like, it's raining, so why can't we just go home? And I'm like, well, because they want to play the game, and
they kind of have to play the game.
They kind of have to play the game. It's the last day of the season. They can't push it off.
Yeah.
So, we got to play, and they obviously are seeing something in the weather report that makes them believe they'll be able to get this game in. Then the Scraby in me kicks in.
Uh-oh.
And I come up with a conspiracy theory. Maybe they already know it's going to get rained out, but they're just keeping these 15 to 20,000 people in the ballpark for a while so that we'll buy hot dogs and Cokes all afternoon and beers.
That
was a
spot on.
That was a Scraby conspiracy theory that somewhere they already knew they were going to rain out the game.
Goodness.
But they didn't want to announce it because we were all sitting in there buying concessions, waiting for the game to hopefully start.
Walking through the gift shop.
That's right. Finally.
And then you're in there and you have no other place to eat or drink while you're waiting for the... That's not even a conspiracy theory. That is a fact, Chris.
You're darn tootin', Scraby.
Darn tootin'.
You're darn tootin'. Anyway, they finally say the game's going to start at 4:30, 90-minute delay. I will tell you this as an aside. The grounds crew came out at 4 o'clock, and in a half an hour, they turned it from a muddy, disastrous quagmire into a stadium ready for play. My wife and Uncle Les were on the edge of their seat watching the grounds crew. They thought it was the most incredible
thing. You've been
thing.
starved for any entertainment for the past 3 hours.
Yeah, so they love the grounds crew. The game gets underway. Bottom of the first inning. Yankees come up. First guy gets a double. Next guy, Trent Grisham, home run. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Trent Grisham just hit a home run?
Trent Grisham needs you to follow him everywhere.
Unbelievable. I'm in New York, and Trent Grisham hits a home run. Nothing happens for an inning or two. At the end of the second inning, Lori's uncle turns to us and he goes, "You guys good?" And I was like, it's kind of his thing. He got us the tickets. He got us on the subway, how to get there. And we both said, yeah, we're all right.
Wow.
I left a Major League Baseball game after 2 innings. Now beat that.
I mean, I can't be mad at you because you guys waited for so long.
Right, I know. But we left after 2 innings of a baseball game on Sunday.
Did you feel like you were cursing the baseball gods as you were leaving?
No, we weren't the only ones. The subway was quite crowded with fans going home.
It was a meaningless game, too.
Totally meaningless game. And, Judge wasn't playing, Soto wasn't playing, the whole thing. Skeens wasn't pitching. So
So
anyway,
you were
that was-
basically just watching a AAA game between the Yankees and the Pirates.
So I got my Yankee Stadium experience, but that's what it was.
Hey,
So-
by the way, let's take a look at Trent Grisham this year, and I'm not saying this to be a jerk.
Well, he hit 183 because
190.
It was up, oh, he got it up
So
there.
maybe he got a
190.
couple hits on
A couple
Sunday.
days on Sunday. Yeah.
But he's hitting 190. His OPS was 6.7. Meanwhile, the Padres have a center fielder that didn't play center field coming into this year. Now, Chris, when you were gone, I made this declaration that I don't want it to happen, but I believe that Paul Skeens is going to win Rookie of the Year just because of the media coverage that's been around him. We had Jimmy Rollins on Monday. Jimmy Rollins says that Jackson Merrill's the guy because he's an everyday player. Steven Strasburg was in studio. He said, without saying it, he said that it's more impressive for an everyday player to do it. But I don't know how you feel. I don't really want to rain on the parade of having a good time, but I feel like Jackson Merrill's going to miss out on that.
I thought about it last night when I watched Jackson Merrill come up to bat, and I thought to myself,
you don't have time to worry about it.
Don't have time to worry about it right now.
I get it, but like
I want Jackson Merrill to win Rookie of the Year. I think he deserves it, but I don't have time right now, so I'm okay. Whatever happens, I just, let's just keep winning ball games, and we'll worry about the Rookie of the Year when it's time to announce it.
I will fall on the sword for Jackson Merrill because I get in fights on Twitter with these Paul Skeens people, and they say this. It's really cool that Jackson Merrill's doing it, but what Paul Skeens is doing is historic. And I'm like, what Jackson Merrill is doing as well is a little bit historic. The Paul Skeens people are so hoity-toity about the whole thing. It makes me mad.
Well, guess what? In about 70 years, somebody's going to hit 4 game-tying or game-winning home runs in the 9th inning. Excuse me, somebody
Stop knocking over things.
Dropped something over here in the studio, which is our Western Metal Supply building. In 70 years, Scraby, somebody's going to hit 4 game-tying or game-winning home runs in the 9th inning in like 2 weeks. And they're going to say, the last person to do that was Jackson Merrill in 2024.
You're right.
That's
not going to happen.
That's how historic what Jackson Merrill did before you try to think that only Paul Skeens is historic. All right, 2-1, the Royals over the Orioles, top of the 8th inning. Earlier, the Tigers eliminated the Astros. Later tonight, the Padres hope to eliminate the Braves. You want starting lineups? We got them.
Woohoo!
After a check of traffic on Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
2 of the wild card series gets underway.
All the luminaries are out right now.
You know, it's kind of funny because we're over here getting some attention. People are coming over to say hi, and they want to hang out with us. And then who comes over but the morning show, Stephen Woods.
Oh, yes.
And now everybody's talking to him.
That's not true.
He's like,
They're all talking to us.
He's the big-time guy.
No, that's not true. He wasn't here to steal our shine.
Everybody's following Woodsy. Walked over there.
Well,
now
he is a pretty big star, but people are as excited to see us, Chris.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it's all about the morning show, Ben and Woods. Gwynn and Chris here on 97.3 The Fan. We got about 15 minutes before we turn it over to Sam Levitt and the pregame show. 2-1, the Royals still over the Orioles in the 8th inning. 6 outs left for the Orioles. No outs left for the Astros. Remember the Astros? They went to 7 consecutive American League Championship Series.
Yeah, I meant to say this earlier.
At least. And that streak has been snapped today by the Detroit Tigers. Tigers move on to face the Guardians.
The Guardians.
Who had that as a semifinal matchup in the American League this year?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right, Mark Grant. Thank you.
If you missed it, Mark Grant called the triple play before it happened.
Who picked the triple play? So, the Tigers will get the Guardians next in a classic Detroit-Cleveland showdown there. Padres, of course, are trying to advance to a divisional round against the Dodgers. They're waiting. If the Padres win either tonight or tomorrow, of course, but let's just call it tonight. Then tomorrow, we'll have our regular show, Scrappy.
Yes,
we'll have a nice, relaxing show. We'll have some Thursday night football.
Yes.
Friday, we'll have another big show. It'll be a Friar Friday and the whole thing, and we'll get ready for the playoffs to start Saturday, Sunday in L.A., and then games 3 and 4, if necessary, will be played in San Diego next Tuesday and, if necessary, Wednesday. But that's way too far ahead. We said this already. The Braves are not just going to step aside for the Padres' coronation tonight.
No.
This is a team that has, been through this playoff thing a few times. They've got some really good players over there. I know they got a lot of them hurt, but the guys that are healthy are still more than enough to win a ball game or two.
There's nothing that they want more than to shock and surprise everyone in the building.
They know that everybody picked against them in this series.
Hey, by the way, some of those guys have big-time playoff experience.
Well,
it's not outside of their realm.
No. Jorge Soler is in the middle of their lineup as a World Series MVP at one time. Their lineup tonight, Michael Harris again will lead off. Ozzie Albies will again hit second. Marcelo Zuna will be the DH. Matt Olson, Jorge Soler, Ramon Laureano. So I think the first 6 is the same as it was last night for the Braves. Then it changes a little bit. Gio Urshela moves up to number 7. Sean Murphy will start tonight, batting 8th. He'll be at catcher rather than Travis d'Arnaud. And then Orlando Arcia, the shortstop. That's the Braves lineup tonight. The only change personnel-wise is Murphy's in, d'Arnaud is out. For the Padres, tonight it's the same lineup in terms of personnel as last night, but Mike Shildt has made one change, Scraby. Luis Arraez at DH, Tatis in right, Profar in left, Machado, Merrill, Bogarts, but then Donovan Solano moves up a spot to number 7, and Jake Cronenworth drops down a spot to 8.
Is that lefty-lefty thing?
Against the lefty, yeah. So they're going to drop Cronenworth down to 8, and then Kyle Higashioka will bat 9th. And thank you, Nick. Better late than never.
I missed it in the beginning, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait for
Thank you, Nick.
Our lineup sound are very good.
That was really funny,
That was funny.
actually.
That was good. So that's the Padres and the Braves lineup for tonight. Sam Levitt will have more on that and all the, whatever stats and stories he can drum up.
Let's talk about something you mentioned before the show, and we haven't talked about it yet, but last night, when I mentioned the Robert Suarez hit that got caught at the fence by Jurickson Profar was in the game late. Usually And Mike Shildt has been putting in defensive replacements for him late.
Yeah.
And he was not a defensive replacement. So I wonder if this is hey, we're in the playoffs. We're going with our best players, not just strategy.
Well, I don't know. I was surprised, honestly, when I saw that ball hit and I saw it was Profar who went back, and he made a really nice catch.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not, forget.
Yeah.
Profar made a really good play. But all year long, and I mean from day one right on through the whole season, Mike Shildt has taken Jurickson Profar out for defense in the late innings, the 8th and 9th inning, almost exclusively when the Padres are winning. So I didn't get a chance to ask him about it. I don't know if anybody else did, but here's my thinking last night. Profar was due to lead off the bottom of the 9th if, unfortunately it had gone to that.
Yes.
So that might be why, with a 4-0 lead, Shildt decided on this occasion, I'll keep him in left field rather than make the change I usually make. And, look, it didn't really matter a whole lot. They won 4-0. But I did think it was interesting. And, normally Profar's not in there for that.
Yes.
So, everything gets looked at, and dissected in the playoffs. The short series is fun because there's so much stress and pressure on these guys.
Yeah.
But the long series are almost more fun because then everything starts to kind of, you saw this happen last night. What are you going to see tonight? That pitcher got that hitter out. Do you want him to face this guy? You know what I mean? That's what makes baseball, it's so great in the postseason. I could watch this stuff all day, all night long.
It's so much more granular in the postseason.
Which I almost know what that means.
Granular meaning I may have
do.
used that. I may have used that word incorrectly, but it's so much more the details are so much bigger in this game. Like yesterday, for example, Luis Arraez leads off the game with a shot over the third baseman. Who drives him in? Fernando. All year people have been complaining about Luis Arraez getting on base and not hitting for power, but this is what they're supposed to do in the playoffs. I don't know why I started clapping, but that's what they're supposed to do.
Well, I just love Arraez, and I want him right there all year long, and he's been there. He won another batting championship, and if nothing else, he at least denied Shohei Ohtani the Triple Crown.
That's true too.
So you should like Luis Arraez for doing that, if nothing else. Although I thought it was funny going into the last day, the Monday doubleheader, if Marcell Ozuna had gone 9 for 9 in the doubleheader, he would have won the batting title from Luis Arraez. But alas,
that would have been a very incredible
wouldn't that
day.
have been something? But
that
alas,
would have been a crazy day.
Yeah, that didn't happen. So Luis Arraez won his third batting title, and all is good in Padre land. All will be great if they win tonight. Sam Levitt has arrived here. And again, listen to this.
Here is the star of the show.
You know it's real when he gets his own chin.
He's just taking it all in right now. Wow. Wow, look at him.
Don't be coming here and hiding behind me. Go out and meet with your faithful out there, Sam Levitt.
That is a nice jacket.
Wherever Sam Levitt goes,
the champagne flows.
Damn right.
This is paying Sam back for when he was on with me 2 weeks ago here in the loft. He started getting the crowd going, and it was everybody was staring at me. Hey, I want to say real quick, Rod is one of the best listeners we have to this station. He's always on the chat, and Rod would like a shout-out for his wife hanging in with him for 25 years today. So happy anniversary, Rod. 25 years with your wife. That's awesome.
Really, really good, Rod.
I wish I could make it to 6 months in a relationship, let alone 25 years.
Why don't you work on 6 days?
I'll work on 1 day, Chris. We need to get through 12 hours before we get through 25 years.
Oh, my God. How about our boss, Adam Klug?
Let's give him a round of applause.
The man,
he hates it. He hates it.
The man who doesn't want anybody to know that he grew up in Georgia.
Oh, no, he's open.
Is he okay with that?
Yeah, he's cheering for the Padres.
Of course he is. He knows where his bread is buttered. But I mean, he's had
he's also realistic about.
He's had an interesting week, man. He had the Georgia football game Saturday, which was another classic game.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and then he's had the Braves Monday, which was classic baseball. And now he had the Falcons.
Oh, the Falcons with Young Wei Koo, 58-yarder.
Good old Young Wei. Love when Young Wei comes through. And then, of course, the Braves are here now for the playoffs. So everybody's putting it all together here, getting ready.
97-3 with a complete team effort. I mean, some of us do more than others. Like, Chris just got back from his vacation, so he's been doing nothing.
Oh, did I tell you? I'm leaving again on a vacation tomorrow. So.
Adam's giving you the look.
Adam didn't like that joke. He didn't even think that was funny at all.
Giving you the look.
Yeah, he didn't think that was funny at all. All right, we're just kind of dancing here. Sammy, are you about ready to go, or what's your? He's about ready.
He's setting up. We're gonna let him have his time.
Yeah, he's set. The Orioles are down to their last 3 outs now. The Royals are batting in the top of the ninth, still leading 2-1. So Baltimore has 3 outs to live. If the Royals win, they'll go to New York to face the Yankees.
Okay.
So, that'll be fun. You know another thing I noticed about Yankee Stadium, though?
What?
A lot of similarities to Petco Park.
Really?
Yeah, they got the big screen out there. They put the camera on everybody in the stands, and everybody can't believe they're seeing themselves on a big screen.
Okay.
It's just like San Diego. Same exact thing.
Do they have like the ball switching in the hat thing game?
I didn't stay long enough for that. I was only there for 2 innings.
That's
remember?
True. You didn't get much in-game entertainment.
I didn't get much in-game entertainment. You know, another thing I totally noticed in New York, and I think this is not a swipe at our friend Big Frank Marchese.
Oh, good. He's not on the board.
It's not a swipe at Big Frank. Because I was thinking about Big Frank on Monday when the Mets clinched, because I know he was really excited, for his team. But, and I'm pretty sure Big Frank knows this, although he may not admit it as freely as I'm going to admit it. Having spent 4 days in New York City, nobody, and I mean nobody, cares about the Mets. It is unbelievable how little attention the Mets get.
It's all Yankees.
It's all Yankees, and I'm not making this up, Scrape. They have those all over town, those, place you can go buy something to eat, the street vendors.
Oh, yeah.
They're all over New York City.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the street vendors are also selling hats and shirts and, souvenirs.
Yes.
More than one souvenir store in Manhattan had only Yankee hats. Met hats weren't even an option.
Maybe they were sold out. You never know.
I doubt that.
You never know.
All right, Sammy, you got a good pregame show?
Yeah.
You got the magic. Going to bring it next.
He's wearing his plaid jacket. He's ready to go.
For Tony Gwynn Jr. and Scraby and everybody at the Loft, Chris Ello, enjoy the game, everybody, tonight. We'll be back tomorrow right here on 97.3 The Fan.